Hello, welcome back to a new video. Kind of a second look and some things that you can adapt to the smallrig 5188 L bracket for the Sony a1ii and a9iii. It's about $60 or euros. It's an L bracket which allows you to put an AirTag inside. There are not many L brackets for these types of cameras available, so for the a1ii and the a9iii from Sony. I will compare it with one that I made a few months ago for the same camera. I 3D printed one myself, and I will show it in comparison because I think that can be handy. Sorry for the bad video. I'm kind of in a weird setup that I'm using my webcam instead of the normal YouTube setup, which we now can use at the moment. And I will be looking around and doing some weird stuff. Sorry for that, but I think it might be useful for you anyway. So let's jump in, and I will show it on my A1 already in the slightly hacked up version. And what I mean, you can see I added this tape, which is called GT5000. You can buy it on Amazon.com. So if in Europe, you have to be on the .com site, and they will ship it from the States. And I think it integrates very well. You can see I also put it on the bottom so that your finger can kind of rest on it nicely. Again, I have to sort of keep my mic here free. But you can see it kind of works quite nicely. So I will use the second one that they sent me. They sent me 2 copies for free, by the way. I'm not sponsored. Well, it depends how you look at it, I guess. But over the last 10 years, I've been working with smallrig on different designs. I only did some feedback on this one. This 99% their own design. I got involved when they were adding the AirTag, which I think is an interesting new feature. I provided some feedback there, but it was already quite late in the game. They were already working on it. So yeah, take that for granted, but they sent me 2 copies to test and to give them feedback. They didn't ask me to make this video. They don't ever do that. I'm not a reviewer because, well, I make bad videos. But I made this more for you than for them, I guess. I will make a special feedback for them. I'm talking directly to the design team, and I will provide with them my feedback. So the nice thing, of course, let me quickly show it around. You have the L part over here. You can see that I sort of attach my Peak Design plug over there, but you can kind of hide in between. If you open it up, it's quite doable. There's no special hole in that for the Peak Design plug, which I think is a design oversight. It's not a big deal, but it would have been better if it was there. And if we move around, we can see, of course, the part here, which is quite nicely done. Then you can see that there's holes for the signal for the AirTag to be able to come out. You didn't see it on the one that's on the camera because I taped them up with the GT5000 tape, which I think is a good idea. But you can see how it works here. There's a second sort of door, and you can open it up. It will flip open, and there you can see the AirTag inside, and you can close it up. So if you want to change the battery, let me show it on a real camera. So I will open it up. So you can see I did it a bit off camera because it's easier in this case. You can see it's now open, and you can take the battery out. The normal door. Get the battery out, put the battery in, close the Sony door, and then close the door for the L bracket. It works quite nicely, and it adds about 2 seconds to the whole operation. So that's yeah, basically the door part. I kind of like that because otherwise on most L brackets I make something to close up this hole so that if I'm holding it, so normally I would hold the camera like this, my fingers always sort of, yeah, kind of badly resting inside that hole, which I don't want. So yeah, that's why I do it. Of course, you can see that on the camera, the L part now really works for my pinky. Normally on the camera, oh, I did not close up the door correctly. I did now. So normally if I move my hand down to simulate a bit, my finger will always drop off the camera. That's why I want to have an L bracket there. Of course, it has the Arca plate here and normally the L part here. You can see that I've made on this one a little ring let me put it on the camera so you can take this plug out again. You can see that I've attached a ring there so that I can sort of make the attachment point so that if I'm carrying it on a leash, then it will correctly move down. It's not perfect, and we might design a special part for that kind of replaces part of this and then allows you to use it without an L part but have a nice attachment point, and it might also close up this hole. So I'm not sure if it will be brought into production, maybe in a future model. We will see what happens there. But for now, this is the way that I sort of fixed it. Is kind of a workaround, so you can steal this idea yourself, so that you have your way to attach your P-Design plug. So that's let's talk a bit about the two I would say elephants in the room, but the three things that I don't like about it compared to my 3D printed one. I will not put it on my camera, but I can show you. So this is my 3D printed version. You can see a review of it online. I designed it myself, and it uses an ARCA plate with also an AirTag inside. But you can see it's rounded off a little bit more. Now, I'm not saying that the one from smallrig is sharp, because it's kind of the same as all L brackets, kind of in this price range and from smallrig before. But on mine, I designed it a little bit more, with a rounded edge, which feels a bit nicer. The same on this side. The second big change is that you can see that I extended it a little bit under the LCD. So if you look at the front one, on this one, you can see that this is quite deep. So from the bottom you can see there's quite a lot of space here, which is good news, because that means that if we flip out the screen, it does not block in any way. So you can do all the movement that you could before. And of course, because I don't have the L part on there, you can see I can flip it out like this. If you have the L part on there, you can still do all the movement, but you have to basically take the LCD out a bit, because otherwise it would hit this side part, which I think is actually not a bad solution, because that means that if you're using the L part, you don't have this weird hole that sometimes is done on these kinds of brackets because of the flippy screens, and that kind of makes it less workable and also feels less nice if you're using it for what it is intended, is as an L part. So I think it's a good compromise that they did. So the LCD, let's say space, is a little bit bigger than I wanted, so they shifted it over a bit compared to what I designed. The good news is that you have all the movement. The bad news that I think it looks a little bit less integrated, and it's possible to hit the LCD from below. Now, of course, that can also be done on if you don't have an L bracket on all. It's not like they made this problem, but on my design, I kind of made it that there's an edge there. So let me show it on this one. You can see I kind of made an edge that if it would hit, it would kind of skimp over the LCD, if that makes sense. I can see why they did it, and I can also know why I did the other way around. So that's the difference. Sorry, this is a little bit vague. I'm recording this for the second time because something went wrong the first time, and it's just as messy as before. But hopefully this video will give somebody some information that's useful. So how do they compare in weight, which I think is important. So the 3D printed one is the lightest one that I've made so far, including the AirTag and the ARCA plate. It's 102 grams with all three parts included. So basically what you're seeing here, including the Apple AirTag. Now the one that I have on the camera, so that's of course totally metal one. That's the biggest difference, of course. It's totally metal, of aluminium, 61 aluminium. It's 130 grams. So it's about 30 grams more than the plastic one, which I think is not a bad compromise. You will not notice it, 20 grams on the total. It's still very light for an L bracket. And that's also, I think, why they left this space out. And of course, they cut out some more parts. I think it's a good compromise, and yeah, that's why they did it. If you also have the L part on it, so with the L part, of course, is this part, then it becomes 160 grams. So that's a little bit more new information. The other thing that I tested since the first look is that I also looked at the. I'm not looking at the camera because, well, it's a webcam sort of setup. Sorry for that. The other thing that I tested is the range for the AirTag. As you know, the AirTags kind of work that if anybody using a phone is nearby, using iPhone is nearby, it will find out its position, tell it to the network so that you can see where your stuff is. And that's really nice that it's now included. That means that there is some hope that you will, if you forget it, you lose it, or it gets stolen. Although, of course, if you have a smart thief, then they will remove it, but it's not very visible anymore. So you have a little bit of chance of finding your camera, at least in the first hour or something, back. If you forget it or if it gets stolen. It's a handy feature to have. So I'm really happy that they built it into this L bracket. But you need to be able to reach it. And of course, that's why these holes are in there, in the design. They can't put any metal there. On the one that's built in, it's a tiny bit less. So you can see that there's a hole over there. So there's a little bit of space. But it's because it's plastic as the L bracket, it's of course is easier. But on smallrig needed to make some holes there to make it work. As you can see on the one that I made, it's on my camera. I use this tape, again GT5000 tape. Description, you'll find where to get it on Amazon. You can't see them anymore because I taped them over, which is cool because it looks even more integrated and you don't see that's there. But how far do they reach? So all these detection, let's call it first lay detection. That means that you get your arrow on your phone where it is about 30 feet, which is kind of the normal range, and that's about 10 meters. Then you get the close by, you get the arrow. It can go a bit further, but I guess about 20, 25 meters, where it will detect it and probably register to the network. So what does that mean? That means that if anybody is, let's say, between 15 and 10 meters near your camera, it will register, send it to the network so you can see where it is. And I think that's the best you can get for, I think the AirTags are now $20. So that is way less expensive than a real GPS tracker, which will also have its problems. So it's not a perfect solution, but I'm happy that they, for the first company that built it into an L bracket, yeah, I requested it a few years ago. I'm happy to finally see one that has this implemented. So it's a nice sort of feature to have, and you can see with the door, it actually does not add too much work. It's kind of a nicely way hidden. It comes with a screwdriver and some tools. Of course, you have to provide your own AirTag, but that's about $20. If you want to use the space for nothing or for something else, you could also put, I don't know, maybe if you put some rubber in there, you can nicely put some extra flashcards there or something else. Maybe you want to hide something else there. But for me, I'm using it as intended for the AirTag. Yeah, the reach is about 10 meters, which is good enough, but that's why the holes are there, and I decided to plug them with the tape. So let me see if there's anything else to say. Like I said, I compared it to my own solution, this one. I'm not sure which one I prefer. So let me give a hint of what I think I will do. I will, not sure which one I will end up with, because I kind of like of course, this is totally aluminium, so it's more stable and rugged for sure. I might use it as this without the L bracket. I could also see myself using the L bracket part again. I've done on my cameras kind of a mix in the last 10 years. Sometimes I leave the L bracket L part on there. Sometimes I remove it. On this one, I'm not sure yet. We will see what happens. The thing that I like about my 3D printed one is that it's a little bit smoother on the hands. And I think it's also a good working solution. If you want to print this one out, you can do it. I released it, but it's more work and it's not for everybody. You can't just run into the shop and get it. So I think the $60 version that smallrig kind of made of the L bracket is really good value if compared to others on the market. And it has some extra features, and I think overall very nice job. Hopefully my feedback will result in some improvement in next releases, and we will see what happens there. Let me see if I forgot to say something. If you have questions, just put them in the comments. I will reply. But I think this is kind of a nicely sort of solution for people who want to have an L bracket for the A1ii and the a9iii. So thank you for watching, and see you in the next one. If you have questions, put them in the comments. Thank you for watching. Bye bye.